When I was 16 years old, the very first job I ever had in my entire life was at Winn-Dixie on Buford Highway in Atlanta, Dorville, inside of 285. And I wanted a job bad, and one day the manager's name was Mr. McCull. I remember it like it was yesterday. He called me up and he said, "You still want a job?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Put a white shirt and a tie on and get down here." And I did it, and the first day that I did it, I knew that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. I said, because I love people, and it was just a great opportunity to meet people. And so that's how I got my start and fell in love with it, and did it for years. Worked for Winn-Dixie and then A&P, and then Vietnam was going on, and it was time to serve, and I signed up and spent 4 years of sea duty in the United States Coast Guard. Got out and I went straight back to the grocery business and managed stores, and it's a long story, but I managed stores in Rome, Georgia and Tulsa, Oklahoma, and our company hired me and sent me to Wichita, Kansas. I managed 3 different stores in Wichita, Kansas, and it was owned by a big national company that was the second largest grocery supplier in the United States. They were having problems with a store in Oklahoma City, and they said, they called me into their office and said, "Can you do what you've done in these other stores anywhere we put you in the country?" And I said, "Absolutely." They said, "Good." And they sent me to Edmond, the suburbs of Oklahoma City. And he said, "Can you straighten it out?" And it was a mess. And they said, Can you do it?" I said, "No doubt." They said, "None." I said, "Nah, let's do it." And it turned out that the store was a mess. We cleaned it up, and I just had to change the attitude with the people that worked for me. And there they had bad attitudes, and the store was nasty, and so we're going to change it all around. And they didn't speak to me much, but I said, "That's okay. We've got a mission to do, and we're going to get it done." Long story short, it turned out it was losing money, and the company, we wound up being the most highest volume, most profitable store in the company. And fortunately, the chairman of the board and his wife shopped with me. And this was a national company, and they basically adopted me, and they loved me dearly. And he said, "Butch, you're a winner. What would you like to do with our company? I'd like you to work in corporate." And I said, "Nah, I love people. I like being in the store. I like retail." And he said, "Well, I'm building stores all over the country." He said, and they were big box stores, 50,000+ square feet stores back in the day. They weren't like the big superstores are today. And anyway, he said, "I've got them going in Florida, New Bern, North Carolina." But he said, "I've got one going into, it's under construction in Knoxville, Tennessee." He said, "Which one would you like to have?" And I said, "Knoxville sounds good." He said, "I'll arrange the financing." And they financed it for me, and the rest is history. I've lived the dream. I've done what I wanted to do, and times change, and God just changed things in my life, and I got in a different industry because I had, at the time, believe it or not, in 1989, Walmart and Sam's right across the interstate from me didn't sell groceries. People don't remember that, but they didn't. They had a few items on an aisle, and in 5 years they went from kind of messing with groceries to being the biggest grocer in the United States. And they told me when I was in service, when we were talking about being at war, if an atomic bomb went off 10 miles from where you were, what would you do? 5 miles, what would you do? 2 miles, what would you do? And he said, if it got down to a half a mile, what would you do? And I said, I don't know. And they said, bend over and kiss it goodbye, because you're not going to make it. And that's what I was facing. So I got out of the grocery business, and God put me in the right job now. I love processing payments, and basically it's the same thing that I did. You know, your money changes hands when problems are solved. And that's what I do. I solve problems for people, and I love what I do. I'm living the dream.